All right, the next section of Amelia Bedelia road trip. You can't always see it, he said. Be careful. It snapped the propeller off a boat last summer. Thanks for the heads up, said Amelia Bedelia's father. As Dot cast them off, he hollered over the roar of the engine. Amelia Bedelia, find Audrey. You can try something new and get your feet wet. Excuse me? Yelled Amelia Bedelia. Why would Doc want her to get her feet wet? Doc's reply was lost in the roar of the motor, and Amelia Bedelia forgot all about wet feet as her dad steered carefully around the big stump. As she looked down into the clear water, she could see the stump. Wait, she thought, had something big moved down there? Or were her eyes playing tricks on her, just like her ears? Soon her dad was speeding across Lake Largemouth. Amelia Bedelia liked the cushions on the seat and the shiny brass instruments on the dashboard. Do boats work like cars? She asked. Of course not, said her father. We're on the water. That's good, said Amelia Bedelia, because this boat has one of those windows with an arrow pointing to the letter E, just like our car. Amelia Bedelia's parents looked at the gas gauge, then at each other. Their eyes practically popped out of their heads. Not again, they yelled together. Steer closer to land, advised Amelia Bedelia's mother. If we run out of gas, we can swim for it. Aye, aye, Captain, said her father. He turned hard, swooping as close to shore as he could without running aground. The engine made a sputtering, coughing, wheezing sound, and then silence. What boat did you grow up around, the Titanic? Asked Amelia Bedelia's mom. Too bad you didn't grow up around a gas pump, too. Now what are we going to do? Fear not, said Amelia Bedelia's father, picking up a boat hook with a long wooden shaft. It's shallow enough to use this pole to push us around that spit of land. Maybe we'll find someone with gas to spare. Amelia Bedelia and her mother moved to the stern to stay out of his way as he began pushing them along. I know, he said. Imagine you're in Venice, Italy. I'm your handsome gondolier. Amelia Bedelia's mother looked at her and then rolled her eyes. Amelia Bedelia's father tied a handkerchief around his neck. Romantico, no? He asked. No, said her mother. Maybe embarrassing, said Amelia Bedelia. This will help, he said, clearing his throat and singing, me, 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 me. And then with the fakest Italian accent ever, he launched into O Sol Mio, which just happened to be one of Amelia Bedelia's favorite songs, but with new lyrics he made up on the spot. O Sol Mio, please serve me pasta with extra sauce and tons of cheese, then bring me a plate of pastries with an espresso as strong as me. Bravo, honey, said Amelia Bedelia's mother, laughing. Amelia Bedelia and her mother clapped loudly, hoping he would stop, but it only encouraged him. Amelia Bedelia's father began singing every Italian word he knew, making up a song that made no sense. Buongiorno, gelato, arrivederci, lasagna. With a giant shove, he pushed their boat around the bend and sang, Ciao, minestrone. Hey, quiet, a voice hollered. You're scaring the fish. The voice belonged to a girl sitting in a boat and fishing. Hi, Audrey, Amelia Bedelia hollered back. How did you know my name? Asked Audrey. As they drew nearer, they explained who they were. Audrey blushed. Sorry I criticized your singing, she said. All I can think about is catching a big fish. I want to win Lake Largemouth fishing contest. I've never been fishing, said Amelia Bedelia. I can show you how, said Audrey. Can I hang out with Audrey? Asked Amelia Bedelia. She could teach me how to fish. Well, maybe for a bit, said Amelia Bedelia's mother. If you can spare some gas, we'll head back, said Amelia Bedelia's father. Sure, said Audrey. Come on over, Amelia Bedelia. Amelia Bedelia's father used the boat hook to pull their boat right next to Audrey's. Amelia Bedelia stood up and started to step across. Just then, a gust of wind blew the boats apart. Amelia Bedelia had one foot on each boat. She was doing a giant split as the boats drifted farther and farther away from each other. Whoa! Cried Amelia Bedelia, waving her arms around to keep her balance. But it was no use. Splash! Amelia Bedelia bobbed to the surface. She grabbed the side of Audrey's boat, and Audrey hauled her in like a giant fish. Amelia Bedelia! Yelled her father. Sweetie! Yelled her mother. Her parents were frantic until they heard her laughing and sputtering. Then Amelia Bedelia did what her dog finally did when she got wet. She shook herself all over, spraying Audrey with water. Now both girls were laughing, and so were Amelia Bedelia's parents. Don't worry, said Amelia Bedelia. The sun is drying me off. We'll be fine, said Audrey. Tell Captain Doc to light the grill. We'll be back in an hour with a mess of fish for dinner. Chapter 8. Hook, Line, and Stinker. Audrey showed Amelia Bedelia her fishing rod and explained all the parts. I didn't know fishing was so complicated, said Amelia Bedelia. My rod is pretty fancy, said Audrey, but I always bring along this pole, which is a line, a hook, and a bobber. It's really fun to use. As she was talking, Audrey reached into an old can filled with dirt. She pulled out a big, fat, wiggly worm. Here's how to bait your hook, she said. Ew, said Amelia Bedelia, looking away. When she looked back, the worm was on the hook. Amelia Bedelia stared at it and said, sorry. Audrey swung the line with the hook and bobber into the water with a plop, then handed the pole to Amelia Bedelia. Amelia Bedelia perched on a cushion where she could fish and dry off, too. What kind of fish do you think I'll catch? Asked Amelia Bedelia. Any kind, said Audrey. Maybe catfish, walleye, sunfish, rainbow trout. Amelia Bedelia was wondering if she would ever figure out fishing when she felt a tug and her bobber vanished under the water. You got one, shouted Audrey. What do I do? Said Amelia Bedelia. Pull him in, yelled Audrey. Amelia Bedelia lifted her pole and a fish was at the end of her line. It swung back and forth above them, around them, and between them until it hit Amelia Bedelia in the chest. She grabbed it with her free hand. Gotcha, she said. Nice fish, said Audrey. We've got a good perch there. It's very comfortable, said Amelia Bedelia as she sat back down on the cushion while Audrey unhooked her fish. An hour flew by as Amelia Bedelia caught fish after fish. Audrey was so busy taking fish off her hook and putting on fresh worms that she barely had a chance to fish herself. But she did tell Amelia Bedelia all kinds of interesting things about fish, and how they like to hide in shady spots and near roots and rocks, and how she once saw 5 big trout jump way out of the water at the exact same time. When they got back to the dock, Doc was waiting for them. I'm so sorry, he said. Your parents told me you all ran out of gas. I should have checked. I could kick myself. That might hurt, said Amelia Bedelia. I can't kick myself, and I wouldn't even if I could, and neither should you. Doc's laughter turned into a whistle when Audrey held up the string of fish Amelia Bedelia had caught. Wow, he said. Now that's what I call getting your feet wet. All of me got wet, said Amelia Bedelia. I fell in and got soaked. That's a good nickname for you, said Audrey. I'm going to call you Soaky. Maybe that's the secret to your beginner's luck, said Doc. Fishermen are very superstitious. Right, Audrey? Audrey nodded. That's why I wear Grandpa's lucky fishing shirt. Never wash it, said Doc. All that luck will go right down the drain. Amelia Bedelia had been puzzled by Audrey's shirt. It was super old and pretty stinky. Amelia Bedelia pinched her nose and said, P.U., if I'm soaky, then you're stinky. Audrey laughed. Deal, she said. She held out her hand and they shook it. Things got a whole lot stinkier when Doc showed Amelia Bedelia how to clean her fish. She was expecting soap and hot water. Instead, he used a knife to scrape off the scales, cut off the heads and tails, and scoop out the insides. Amelia Bedelia looked queasy. Audrey grinned. Do you have the guts to try it yourself? She asked. Amelia Bedelia surveyed the growing mound of fish guts and declared, There are plenty of guts around here. Then she cleaned the rest of the fish herself, with advice from Doc. When she had finished, Amelia Bedelia said, Audrey, now I know why you call this a mess of fish. This is disgusting.